They spin the story, we uncover the truth. This is Spin Detective. Today we're opening a deeper file on the biggest claims circulating right now. Is Israel behind the Charlie Kirk assassination, and could Candace Owens be next? We're not here to peddle rumors. We're going to follow the evidence, examine the claims, and show what would actually prove a state was involved like Israel. Exhibit A, the claims. What the conspiracy says. Listen to what people are actually saying online. The theory typically has three pieces. Number one, motive. Israel supposedly wants to silence a critic, influence policy, or intimidate media figures. 2. The means. Israel has highly capable intelligence services such as Mossad and cyber units, and a history of operations abroad. Number 3. Pattern. Proponents point to past covert actions and targeted killings as precedent. Those past operations are why the idea spreads so fast. Israel's intelligence services have been publicly tied to several high-profile covert actions overseas, cases often cited by analysts and open reporting. Exhibit B, the precedents. What we actually know happened before. Let's be specific. Journalists and governments have tied certain assassinations and sabotage campaigns to Israeli actors in the past. For example, the 2010 assassination in Dubai that many sources linked to Mossad, and multiple attacks on Iranian nuclear program figures where Iranian officials publicly accused Israel. Those past events explain why people leap from possible to probable so quickly. But context matters. In many of those cases, the public record is built from open source reporting, official accusations, arrests, or forensic details. It's not always going to be a single smoking gun that shows the exact people behind it. Exhibit C, how attribution actually works and why it's hard. If you want to say that a government is behind something, you need much more than suspicion. And unfortunately, that's really a lot of what we kind of see, just a little bit of suspicion here with, the jets, the transponder being turned off, the people behind him in the white hat, a possible second shot. There's a lot of suspicion. Attribution, especially when it comes down to covert operations or cyber attacks, is really a formal process. Analysts try to link activity using multiple streams such as signals intelligence, human sources, travel and payment forensics, forensic device data, and corroborated documents. Public reporting and indictments sometimes expose operations, but those are rare cases where multiple independent sources just happen to line up. In short, one or two claims plus motive speculation plus perceived capability does not prove state action. Real attribution requires independent verification across different evidence types such as documents, metadata, witness testimony, or forensic trails that can stand up to cross-examination. And it doesn't prove their involvement at this time with the information that we currently have. So obviously there's a lot of different things that we're getting from all over different sources of internet, some manipulated, some speculative, but we really don't have 100% firm evidence that Israel would be behind this currently. Exhibit D, common methods conspiracy theorists rely on and their gaps. Now, trust me, I love me a good conspiracy theory, and ever since 2020, my friends, it seems like we've been pretty damn on it with our conspiracy theories to being proven correct, so trust me. The section I'm about to go in right now doesn't necessarily mean I don't believe that there may be involvement of Israel. But like I said, I want to take the truth, what's being spun, and I want to focus on what we actually know and what we can prove. So here's how most conspiracy narratives are assembled and why sometimes they fall short. Motive leaps. Assigning motive is easy. Proving a government chose a particular violent or clandestine route to achieve it is not. Motive alone is circumstantial. So, of course, there may be motive that everyone's kind of pulling together of why Israel would want to be involved in this, or maybe planned it or created a patsy or something. But again, motive alone is circumstantial. Technology claims. Yes, state actors have cyber tools and covert tradecraft, but capability isn't the same as proof of use in a given incident. So really what that means is that just because someone can do it or a government can pull this off or can plant a bunch of stuff doesn't necessarily mean, dang, they instantly did it. We can look at different governments who have maybe the same capabilities, and we could also say, hey, they had motives, they have the technology and the means to do it, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's proof that they did do it. Next, we want to focus on pattern matching. Past operations provide plausibility that a government organization could pull this off, but similar methods are also used by non-state actors or could be faked to look like another actor. This is a classic false flag problem. Now, this is something that I have seen that people are discussing, is that maybe that the shooter isn't really the shooter. He has kind of been manipulated into it. Again, speculation, right? It could be a classic false flag. It could be a distraction operation. There's so many things that are still out there of what we currently know just barely a week after he was assassinated. Now, we can go back decades and decades to be able to show different false flag operations and other things that have been misattributed. And again, these have long histories and they're frequently invoked in public debates, making careful evidence standards essential when it comes to today's types of environments. A lot of conspiracy content stitches motive and capability and pattern into a story, but it often will skip the forensic work that will prove the link. So again, just because Israel has a motive, they have the capability, and they have a pattern into doing it, doesn't forensically prove to us that they were involved in this. Exhibit E. What would convincingly show Israel or any other government was behind this? Here's the checklist I implore all of you to focus on, and maybe look on the internet, put it in the comments. You know, we're very open-minded here. Just because we make a video on this doesn't mean it's ironclad, it's, stamped approval. I'm just going off what we have here. So here's the checklist that investigators would want to see, and that way you can call it something like the state attribution bar. Number 1, documentary evidence. You need to have some sort of chain of custody, such as internal orders, budgets, operational logs. These are the things that you would need to prove that a state was behind it. Number 2, corroborating signet. What that is that you have signal intelligence that has been intercepted with communications. They have timestamps, locations. You can get cell tower logs, emails, Telegram messages, anything that has different timestamps or locations and independent verification, such as surveillance camera footage or anything like that. Number 3, you need to have named witnesses. These people will typically have direct access to planning who stands up to scrutiny when it comes down to the investigation. Number 4, you need to have forensic ties. Money flows. That's a big thing we've all been talking about recently, is we have to follow the money and see where it's coming from. With the current shooter that's in custody and being arraigned, where's the money coming from? Was there money that he was being facilitated with organizations? Were people financing him? These are all things that need to be focused on when it comes down to the device metadata, travel records, any equipment purchase that has been traceable to them. Now, if we can trace that back to some sort of state unit, then that would be a fantastic thing for us to be able to have. Multiple independent confirmations. An example of this, you have 2 different intelligence agencies that are respected, independent from each other. Maybe you have independent journalists, court-grade indictments. These types of multiple independent confirmations will be able to facilitate the correct process and understanding if Israel was behind this. If you don't have several items from this checklist, it's responsible to treat the story as unproven, which is what we are focusing on. Many public accusations don't meet this actual threshold whenever people are assuming or saying that a government was involved in any assassinations. Exhibit F, the hostile environment and political incentives. If a state actor were caught organizing attacks that appear to target commentators in allied countries, the blowback would be immediate and severe. Diplomatic rupture, sanctions, loss of intelligence cooperation, and so many more things would be at risk for Israel doing this. For states that rely on alliances such as Israel, such actions are unusually self-destructive, and that factor alone reduces prior probability even when capability exists. That's why many analysts urge skepticism absent corroboration, meaning if you don't have all of those things or some things from the checklist corroborating the theory, you have to be skeptical about it. Exhibit G, red flags in online narratives. Watch for these signs that a theory is being amplified beyond the evidence. Single source leaks with no chain of custody, reliance on anonymous social posts that later can't be verified, selective evidence such as cherry-picked data with big gaps that are being ignored, recycled claims such as old ops retold as proof without new forensic links. These are not proof that the claim is false, only reasons to demand better proof before drawing conclusions. And I personally think some of the things that whenever we deal with our government, as most of you would probably agree, is that they're not transparent. There's many things that we know that they're not going to disclose and to put out there. And this kind of makes all of these what ifs come more to light in people's minds. Say, well, Israel could do this, and here's why they would do it. Well, the government isn't really talking and giving us any proof either for or against that narrative. So, we all kind of just need to demand that the government is more transparent and has better proof. Verdict. So where are we now? The possibility of state action cannot be dismissed out of hand. Intelligence services do operate covertly, but possibility, again, does not equal proof. On the publicly available record today over the last week, there isn't the multi-standard evidence the kind of attribution described earlier requires. That leaves this current claim unproven, but not disproven. They spin the story, we uncover the truth. If you see a new piece of evidence, a verified document, corroborated signals intelligence, or multiple named sources, again, send it our way and we'll open a fresh file. Subscribe to Spin Detective and follow along. We'll keep the standards high and the spin low.